What is the ideal morning and evening routine? Now, there are millions of videos out there, and in fact, I've made several videos about how you can leverage neuroscience and high performance principles to create your own custom tailored routine that beats the routine of any celebrity. I'll link it to you in the comments. However, what if I told you that there is no cookie cutter routine that works for everyone? And what if I told you that your genetics, in fact, determine what your personal perfect routine should look like? Now, it goes so far that your genetics determine your energy, your motivation, your mental clarity, and your creativity throughout the day. And be aware, if you're an evening person, for example, then the good old advice of getting up early to win the game not only messes up your productivity, but it also has been shown to shorten your lifespan in studies. It can shorten your lifespan. So in this video, I will tell you everything you must know about the clock genes in your body and how you can find out your chronotype. That is whether you are a morning-loving lark, whether you are a third bird, or whether you are an evening-loving night owl. And once you know your chronotype, and most importantly, I will show you what work and non-work related activities, such as exercise, you should do at what times to maximize your physical and mental performance. Now, personally, I figured out that I'm a night owl, in fact, and I used to force myself to get up at 3:30 a.m. every morning when I'm actually at my worst as a night owl, and I forced myself to do key work. I forced myself to go in the gym, and that was probably the dumbest, most efficient, and even dangerous thing I could do. Could I fix this? Now, anyhow, if you're excited, please take a moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons so that we can build an army of high performance and neuroscience enthusiasts together. I would highly appreciate it, guys. Now, my name is Nicholas. I'm a neuroscientist, dementia researcher, as well as a high performance and flow coach, and this is how you can leverage your chronotype for optimal physical and mental performance and health. Alright, first and foremost, as it is the idea of the entire video, your chronotype should dictate your day. Now, as a definition, a chronotype is a person's natural inclination with regards of the times of day when they prefer to sleep and when they are the most alert or energetic. And once again, if you understand how your personal internal clock works, how your biology works, that is, then you're able to plan your day better. And it's not just about planning your day. We both caution here, and that is that your chronotype, so by your biological clock, it impacts your performance, your health, and it even impacts your lifespan. And if you don't listen to it, then it might even shorten it in some cases. And once again, I will show you a few studies later on. Now, that aside, generally, the circadian rhythm is basically the expression of so-called clock genes throughout the day at different rates. And typically, those clock genes are expressed in a 24-hour cycle, and they control hormone release in your body. And once again, these hormones then affect when you are asleep, when you feel sleepy, and when you are awake, and when you are the most focused. Now, a simple example here would be the sleep hormone melatonin. Now, typically what you find is that light suppresses the expression of melatonin, so melatonin levels are very low during the day. But as the sun goes down and night starts, melatonin secretion by the pineal gland in your brain, in fact, goes up. So melatonin is secreted into your bloodstream. And what melatonin does is tune down your nervous system so that you fall asleep more easily. And there are, of course, other changes throughout the day. For example, while you sleep, your body temperature is decreased, which is actually necessary to fall asleep, by the way. You have changes in blood pressure over the day. You have differences, again, in the secretion of hormones such as testosterone, Maybe you also get a peak of cortisol in the morning, for example, so your stress hormone levels of cortisol increase in the morning, etc. So again, all of these changes, they occur throughout the day. There are some general trends, but there are differences for each one of us. And this is again what defines your chronotype. Now, generally, there are a few factors that you cannot change that are fixed for all of us, and that would be our genes. So once again, what your chronotype looks like, what your internal biological clock looks like, is strongly regulated by your genes. Then, of course, sex and age play a role there as well. A few examples in a second. But then again, there are a few factors that are more controllable, you could say. One of them is, of course, light exposure. So what you generally find is that the invention of electricity has actually pushed back our circadian rhythm. It has pushed back our biological clock. Once again, because we are exposed to light for much longer now, we can just switch on the we can just flip the switch, the electricity switch. So, of course, our bodies have responded to that. It also matters where you are in the world. You could live in a country that has very short light exposure, like Sweden, for example. That makes a difference. And food. Now, I will not go into the particular or into the details here. So if you want a specific video, let me know. But when you eat, matters. It matters for your health a lot. And that is because when you are in a fat state, then of course your body is in a growth state. On the other hand, when you are in a non-fat state, that means when you face it, your body is in a repair state. And there's a lot of evidence that actually increasing this repair state, so being in a face it state for longer, has extreme health benefits for your brain, for your body, etc. But once again, I will not go into detail in this video. If you want more details, let me know in the comments and I will make a video for you. That aside, back to our chronotype, to our biological clock. What you generally find is that adolescents are later chronotypes than children and elderly people. So in other words, you have the moody teenager who wakes up in the morning and needs a coffee to not kill you, basically. And what you also find is that women are generally earlier chronotypes than men. So women tend to be more early birds. And as I pointed out in the beginning, it's very, very, very crucial that you do not ignore your chronotype for your health. Now, what you find is that we live in a world that is made for larks. So our world is made for early birds, for morning persons, and it's actually very detrimental for owls. And this is actually a very early study that was done in 2013 by Till Renneberg. Now, Renneberg, we will see him later on in this video again. He's one of the experts in the field of chronotype research. And that was actually a very early pilot study. So he just did some questionnaires. And what he found is that during the work week, later chronotypes, so night owls in fact, they accumulate considerable sleep debt. And they compensate for this lack of sleep by lengthening the sleep by several hours. Why is that? Well, simply because night owls, they don't get sleepy at night. In fact, night owls are at their best at night. And obviously, when you feel alert, when you feel at your best, then going to bed is not intuitive for you. You obviously stay up longer. But you stay up longer because you feel great. However, your job actually forces you to get up early. So what ends up happening is again that these people, they stay up very, very late because again, it's natural for them. And on the other hand, they have to force themselves to get up very early to go to work. That's why they accumulate these sleep deficiencies. And the implications are worsened learning, memory, vigilance, performance, and even quality of life. And I'm not joking when I say that. Because there was actually a recent study in 2018 which looked at 433,000 plus adults mid-age, and they followed these people for an average of 6.5 years. And don't be shocked, they actually found that being an evening person, so if you're a night owl, then it increases your risk for psychological disorders, for neurological disorders, even for gastrointestinal and abdominal disorders, respiratory disorders, and that is actually the most shocking, it increased the risk of all-case mortality and cardiovascular disease mortality. In other words, if you are an evening person in nowadays world, then your chance to, again, develop mental and physical disorders and to die earlier is higher. Let that sink in. That aside, what your chronotype also affects, and that's probably the most relevant for you, that would be that it affects your energy levels throughout the day. And what you see here is actually an example for the typical third bird. So third birds are actually 65% of the population. So chances are that you are a third bird as well. And third birds generally find that their energy levels increases in the morning. So they have a peak in the morning, but then once afternoon hits, they experience a sharp slump. So the typical afternoon slump that you would expect, and it especially kicks in after a big lunch. And later on in the day, maybe 4 p.m., so in the evening, typically third birds see this increase in energy once again. And finally, what you find is that the energy then drops again as it gets later at night. So as the entire idea of the video is, you should time your work for optimal performance. That means that when your energy levels are high, you should do impactful work. When your energy levels are low, you should do less impactful work. That is, if you want to be at your absolute best and if you want to optimize your day. So when you do it, matters. Generally spoken, once again, you should do your most important work when you are mentally clear and when you are at your most focused. For example, 9 a.m. Now, if you are a Lark, Lark is the typical morning person, then you would be at your best at the late morning, and that's when you should do complex cognitive work. That's when you should do analytical work, analyze data. That's when you should make key decisions, for example, in your business, or whether you want to marry the woman of your life, the love of your life, because that's probably an important decision, and you shouldn't just wing this. You should probably think about it a few times. Other things that you should do when you are at your mental best is goal-relevant activities, as I call it. So you should do the things that contribute to accomplishing your biggest goals. And if you're familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, I made an entire separate video about this that I link you in the description. Then you should focus on doing quadrant 2 activities when you are the most focused. So you should do those non-urgent but important tasks, in other words. And lastly, obviously, as far as you can control it, you should do crucial meetings or presentations when you are at your mental best. On the other hand, there are of course those times of the day when you will be mentally foggy. You will not be able to focus as well, and your thoughts will be more divergent, so less sorted, less ordered. And this is in fact the perfect time to do creative work that requires insight. Now, I made an entire separate video about the neuroscience of creativity and also tools that you can use to become more creative. So what you can do, in fact, and what you should do. And just briefly, what you need for creativity, for insight to occur, is to be in a non-focused state. Your brain needs to be in alpha wave activity, so your brain needs to be in daydreaming mode, and that is actually one of the things that I want to point out here is insight. Insight is when you have an idea, when you have a sudden epiphany, the solution to a problem, for example, that just pops into your mind. This usually happens when you wake up in the morning, when you're not focused on anything, by the way. And once again, you can actually increase the amount of insight that you get. You can increase your creativity, once again, by doing your creative work when you're mentally foggy, when you're not focusing as well, when you're not able to focus well, but when your thoughts are pretty much more dispersed. That aside, besides creative work at your mental downtimes, what you can also do is urgent but less important tasks that don't require much mental input. Could be checking emails. Now, you still shouldn't check every email under the sun and focus on relevant ones, but that would be a good time to do it, in fact. Other than that, you can do exercise, which is also perfect to recover from intense mental work. And you can do other tasks such as cooking, eating, shopping, or socializing. And that is an important statement that I want to point out. It was made by Professor Russell Foster. He's an expert in circadian neuroscience at Oxford University. And what he said is that the performance change between the daily high point that you have and the daily low point, and again, the only difference is when it is during the day. This difference is equivalent to the effect on performance of drinking the legal limit of alcohol. So once again, the best time of your day and the worst time of your day, which is again dependent on your chronotype and your biological genes and clock, this difference is as big as drinking multiple glasses of beer. Let that sink in. Now, the important question, of course, how do you figure out your chronotype? And there's a very simple way to do it. Now, this is actually a statistic that was made by Renneberg. We've heard about him earlier. And Renneberg, he illustrates that you can find your chronotype as based on your midpoint of sleep. But before we dive into that, just statistics briefly. Statistics show that 40% of the population are larks, are morning persons. The vast majority of us are in fact fat birds. So we have this energy increase in the morning and evening and the big slump in the afternoon. So it's basically in between. And with night owls, so people that have low energy levels in the morning, but the energy levels slowly but surely increase as the day passes by, and night owls are at the absolute best in the evening. And what you can do to find out your chronotype is that on a weekend, first and foremost, you want to pay attention. That is, when do you naturally feel energized? And do you feel tired? Just make notes of that. And importantly, now check your bedtime as well as the time when you wake up. So when do you naturally get tired? When do you feel like going to bed? And when do you naturally wake up? And what you want to do is that you want to determine the midpoint. So the midpoint of your sleep. For example, if you go to bed at 10 p.m., that's when you get tired. And then you wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, naturally. Then the midpoint, so 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., the midpoint here would be 2 a.m. If you look at the diagram here, 2 a.m. in the morning, that would be a lark. In other words, you would be a morning person. Now, as the entire idea of this video is, make sure to use your chronotype to your advantage. So do your most impactful or most important work when you're at your mental sharpest. Do your creative work in your mental downtimes when your brain is foggy, but also more creative, when your ideas are more dispersed in your brain. And once again, be smart. Let me point it out once more, because you want to work with your biorhythm and you do not want to work against it. Now, lastly, there's actually a free resource, and I definitely want to tell you about it, of course, given that it exists, and it is the so-called My Circadian Clock. Now, it's an app. You can find it online. I put the link on the left-hand side, which is mycircadianclock.org. We'll also put you the link in the description of the video. And what this app does is that it allows you to track your daily eating habits. It allows you to track sleeping, as well as your activity and exercise patterns. And what this app then will do is that after a few weeks, it will give you feedback. So that way it allows you to determine if what you're doing is actually beneficial for you, or if it actually increases the risk for various diseases. And of course, it helps you to understand how your natural biorhythm works. As a quick side note, I'm currently developing a neuroscience and psychology-backed high-performance course with one-to-one coaching by me to get you from zero to hero. to blow anyone else out of the water and to accomplish your greatest goals, whatever it takes style. And I plan to launch this course for a few selected individuals in January 2022. So it's for those of you guys who want to get to the next level, have a breakthrough, or live a new and more balanced life. Now, there will be a 100% money back guarantee because I will personally ensure that you will leave this course as your very best self. So you really cannot lose. And the course covers 5 aspects. Number 1 would be how you can find your passion, your purpose, or your why your mission in life. And you can map out crystal clear goals to make your ambitions a reality. Now, the second thing, number 2, would be that you will be able to reprogram your brain so that you can acquire any empowering belief or behavior that you desire. It could be more courage, for example. Third, you will learn how you can optimize your routine, your schedule, and your productivity with the best time and task management systems out there. And I will, of course, help you to implement all of that. Then 4, I will help you to get into flow with your work. Now, generally, flow is the ultimate brain state of peak performance, and which are so deeply immersed into what you do and that you so deeply enjoy what you do that you forget everything else. And studies of the Flow Research Collective also show that flow leads to a 100% focus and attention improvement, a 200% meaning and fulfillment improvement, as well as 500% more productivity. So you literally get 5 days of work done in a single day if you pull off flow correctly, and a 430% increase in creativity. And research also backs up that the happiest and most fulfilled people in the world are in fact those with the most flow. And lastly, 5, I will also show you how you can optimize dopamine and serotonin in your brain for maximized motivation, attention, focus, and life satisfaction. Now, if you're interested, for inquiries and to submit topics of your interest that I might incorporate into the course for you, and of course for a significant discount, please contact me before the 28th of December 2021, provided there is still spots left, that is, via email. So just send me an email to nicholas.peterreich@gmail.com to secure your spot. Once again, more info in the description, the video description. Now, personally, I've struggled with clinical depression in the past, and I managed to turn my life. I turned my life 180 degrees. And I basically went from the deepest point in my life, that was actually when I was 17 years old, clinical depression, to now being a neuroscientist and a high-performance flow coach. And that's why I've decided to support you on your journey as well, so that you can become your best, and so your mental and physical best, that is, yourself as well. And generally, I'm here to tell you that you can be an elite performer, you can be a leader, you can be extremely successful. And if you already are, then you can be even better than you currently are. Because anyone can accomplish any goal or dream by focusing on a single thing, and that is continuous self-improvement. And that concludes the video. So as always, thank you for your time and attention. Now, if you enjoyed the video and if you want to support the channel, please like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends and those who could benefit from it, so that we can build an army of neuroscience and high-performance enthusiasts together. I would strongly appreciate it. And if you do the chronotype assessment, let me know. Are you a lark, a third bird, or a night owl? And is your current routine in line with your chronotype, or have you been working against your biology? Now, we all know the saying, work smarter, not harder. And leveraging your chronotype is probably one of the most impactful things you can do to improve your energy, mental clarity, creativity, and health immediately. Now, that said, have an efficient week that works with and not against your biology high performance, and I will see you in the next video.